Hello, 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 hello. I trust everyone can hear me okay. Last Sunday, I had some microphone problems and didn't figure it out until the end of this live, which was pretty embarrassing. So I'm hoping that everybody can hear me okay. Turns out my microphone somehow had gotten disconnected last week. So I'm trusting that everything is going good with the audio this week. It says my main microphone is connected. So I appreciate that. Um, let's see. Thank you to everyone who is joining the live. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much to the 19 of you who are watching thus far. Make sure that you say hello so that I can acknowledge you. And a couple of people have already chimed in. Hello, Maryland. Your first live. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Good evening to A Good. Hello to Deborah. Yes, you can hear me just fine. Thank you. I appreciate it. Appreciate it. Tamika from Houston, the H town, the H. I may be getting out there sometime soon. We shall see. Maryland. Yep. Thank you so much. You can hear me. Patricia, hello, everyone from Indianapolis. Indianapolis. I've never been to Indianapolis. Nope, never been there. Hey to Dawn Satterwhite. Thank you so much. And to everyone else who is watching and everyone who's going to watch in the future. So this is going to be a chance for you all to rant, to vent. Let me know your frustrations, if you're disappointed, mad, sad, and all that. So you can tell me who you voted for, if you like or not, or what you expect to happen with this new administration. What are your thoughts and opinions about what's going to happen within the next 4 years? And all that. So I'd love to hear you guys' opinion. I do have a few videos to show to you. I did not watch Kamala's concession speech, so we're going to watch that. It's like 12 minutes long, so hopefully I won't get any strikes for that. So thank you so much. You'd love to have me. Yeah, I'd love to be there. Yeah. Hey, Gail from VA. I've been to VA a few times there. It's California. I've only been to California once, which is a surprise. No, wait. Yeah, once. I've only been there once. And I think. Yeah, I've only been there once. So all right. I know y'all like to do these. I know y'all want to talk about relationships and stuff. So I'll give you a little bit of just a taste of a relationship stuff before we get into the political stuff for tonight. So this is going to be a video about a guy who's in the friend zone, trying to do too much, trying to be in the friend zone, trying to get out of the friend zone, and it backfires on him. It backfires on the lady he came with, and he ends up with a good thing and all that. Hello, Olaf from Cali, Trump. Yeah, all right. Tell us who you really voted for. Didn't California go blue? I gotta look at that map again. Hello from Tampa. I've been in Tampa numerous times. My cousin lives down there, so I'm always in Tampa a couple times a year. Free condo stay, right? Stay at his house. All right, so we're gonna get into this quick video, and then we'll get into the heart of what we're talking about.
Congratulations. So how'd y'all meet? Online? She's your friend? Damn, Jacob. You smooth it. VIP front row. You're like, yo, dog, Martin, help me, please. Where'd y'all meet, Jacob? You own a real estate property together. What kind of weird friendship? This new generation is different, bro. In my 20s, I was fingering investing in properties. Do you think Jacob's cute or not? Yeah. Okay. And are you single too? Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Now, Jacob, can I ask you a question, big dog? Have you ever shot your shot at? Not yet? Dog, should we bring Jacob on stage? Dog, you own a business, y'all own property together? Come on, bro. Yo, keep it going for Jacob one time, bro. Come on. Oh, shit. Homie, God damn it. Homie was waiting for this. Started climbing, bro. You bought these tickets, right?
Yeah.
You bought both of them, right?
Yeah.
Sarah, he bought these tickets, VIP. Sarah, look at me. He bought these tickets for this moment. He wanted this moment, all right? So we're going to make this awkward as right now, all right? Tell her what you like about her, big dog.
No, everything, man. She's perfect all the way around. Every single aspect. Personality, everything.
Bro, you're perfect, Sarah. You're perfect for Jacob. He's willing to do anything. You wouldn't want to give it a shot one day? It doesn't have to be in this moment. Would you give him a shot?
Maybe, but 6 feet. 6 feet tall.
6 feet. This man. 6 feet, Jacob. Jacob, you're a short king. No, you're not going back down. We're going to find you a girl, bro. That. We're going to find Jacob a girl. That. Do we have any single girls interested in my homie Jacob right now? Make some noise. Yo, keep it going for these beautiful ladies coming to the stage, man. Wow. Look what you did, Jacob. Look what that VIP did, bro. Look at that. What's your name?
Melody.
Melody. And where are you from and what do you do?
I am from Guatemala and I work with data analytics. I'm a cosmetologist. I'm a second lieutenant in the Army.
Second lieutenant in the Army. Oh, dog, she's gonna you, dog. A 10 hut, big dog. Hell yeah, bro. All right, what about you, sweetheart? What do you do for a living?
Supervisor for an urgent care.
Ooh, look at that, Jacob. Look what I got you. I got you some really amazing options here in San Antonio. You are willing to give up. Do you have any questions for them?
First thing to look for in a man.
Loyalty, for sure. And communication.
First and foremost, a relationship with God, but secondly, like a man that's secure because of my job and my career. They have to be secure in themselves.
I love a family man. A man that loves his family.
Are you feeling anyone right now, or what do you?
Data analyst.
The data analyst. Oh, what do you guys think, huh? Are they a good match? San Antonio, what do you guys think? You guys know what to do. Let's go. Beso, beso. Oh, yes, yes. Keep it going, fucking Jacob. Yes, congratulations. Walk her down, hold her hand, walk her down. Yes, yes. In your face, in your face, in your
All right, so I thought that was a good one to start off with here. As you can see, stay out of the friend zone, fellas. Stay out of the friend zone. You better know her preferences. She needs height, whatever she needs, man. And here he is, and the guy was right. You bought these tickets, got her in the front row, and you trying to impress her, and she's like, nah. Crazy, absolutely crazy, absolutely crazy. Some more people in the building. Hello from Tampa. I said I've been down there. Callie Trump, first time catching your live show. Thank you so much. Chris, I hope I'm saying your name right. Thank you so much. Hello from Philly. Hello from Philly. Everybody's been to Philly, right? Born and raised, right? That's some cold. Yeah, it was definitely cold, man. That was definitely cold. It was a nice match. That's what's up. Yeah. It ended off being cute at the end, and you have to go where you appreciate it. Go where the girls or guys, whichever way, like you. Stop trying to impress people. And he said this woman was perfect. Well, not for you. Not for you. Yeah, that was fun. I love it. Just that quick, he's out of here. Yeah, he should. And he gave her a smooch. Talking about basils. He held her chin and everything. Come here, girl. I got you. Oh, man. All right. So I have not watched she shouldn't have said that in front of the audience. Well, she put him on the spot. It's her. She put him on. He got put on the spot. She said maybe we got to be 6 feet. So she's trying to be nice about it. But listen, man. I mean, listen. It's better not to have your time wasted, right? Don't have me out here dating you and this, that, and the other. You know, I wonder how long they're going to keep owning that property together. And how'd that come about? You probably some high school sweetheart or something, right? And let's own property. Let me try to wiggle my way in here because you're so great and perfect and beautiful in this. She's not even feeling you that way, man. Yeah, it's definitely her loss. She used up that the vato going into she used up that vato going to that concert. She sure did. She sure did. She sure did. Listen, this is what we got to deal with a lot of times, right? This type I got to just type, and meanwhile this guy looks like a good dude, right? He's got money obviously to bring you here. He's obviously investing in houses. I mean, because he's not tall dude, everybody else wants him too. That dude over 6 feet, everybody else wants him. So what are you doing to stand out from that type of guy? Crazy, absolutely crazy. All right, so let me find. Oh, wait a minute. Did I not have that pulled up? I thought I had it pulled up. Oh, here it is. Her concession speech. Okay, I got it. Okay, remove this. Present. Share screen. Yeah, listen, seems like he's listen, I would have been ready to go too. What are we talking about now? What are we talking about? There's nothing else to talk about. I say this, I bring you here, you're gonna talk about this. I'm ready to bounce too. There's nothing else to talk about after that. Stay out of the friend zone, guys. Stay out of there. Just want to send my respects. I've been enjoying watching your channel. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, Erod. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. I appreciate that. Made it to 9,000 subs. 9,000 subs. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you to every sub out there. Thank you. 9,000 subs. I wanted to try to get 10,000 by Christmas. Somebody said it wasn't possible, but we're on our way. 1,000. If we can do 1,000 in a month, a little more than a month, right? It's still early in November. Still, we can do that, right? Get over 10,000. So, all right. So here we go. We're gonna watch Kamala Harris's concession speech. I have not watched this yet, and so here we go. I may stop it here and there if she says something crazy, but we'll see.
Good afternoon.
Sorry about that. For time, I'm going to put it on 1.25. If that's too fast, you all let me know. But it's 12 minutes long, so try to get through this.
Good afternoon. Good. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Now, let me just say before she gets into the heart of this, I thought it was very, very classless. I thought it was classless that she didn't go out there and talk last night when she knew it was up. Watching the news today, she was out. People were out there for 6 hours. The dancers are dancing, whatever they got going on. Some people are out there for 6 hours. Even if you got there late, you're there for an hour or two. You can't come out there and say whatever. I thought that was absolutely classless for her not to go out there and say anything. But that's just my opinion.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So let me say, and I love you back. And I love you back. So let me say, my heart is full today. My heart is full today, full of gratitude for the trust you have placed in me, full of love for our country, and full of resolve.
You're not a child, you're a man. So stop wearing so many layers to go outside and get the bearskin tactical hoodie.
The outcome of this election is not what we wanted, not what we fought for, not what we voted for, but hear me when I say, the light of America's promise will always burn bright. As long as we never give up, and as long as we keep fighting. To my beloved Doug and our family, I love you so very much. To President Biden and Dr. Biden, thank you for your faith and support. To Governor Walz and the Walz family, I know your service to our nation will continue. And to my extraordinary team, to the volunteers who gave so much of themselves, to the poll workers and the local election officials, I thank you all. Look, I am so proud of the race we ran and the way we ran it, Over the 107 days of this campaign, we have been intentional about building community and building coalitions, bringing people together from every walk of life and background, united by love of country with enthusiasm and joy in our fight for America's future. And we did it with the knowledge that we all have so much more in common than what separates us. Now, I know folks are feeling and experiencing a range of emotions right now. I get it. But we must accept the results of this election. Earlier today, I spoke with President-elect Trump and congratulated him on his victory. I also told him that we will help him and his team with their transition, and that we will engage in a peaceful transfer of power. A fundamental principle of American democracy is that when we lose an election, we accept the results. That principle, as much as any other, distinguishes democracy from monarchy or tyranny. And anyone who seeks the public trust must honor it. At the same time, in our nation, we owe loyalty not to a president or a party, but to the Constitution of the United States. And loyalty to our conscience and to our God. My allegiance to all three is why I am here to say, while I concede this election, I do not concede the fight that fueled this campaign. The fight for freedom, for opportunity, for fairness, and the dignity of all people. A fight for the ideals at the heart of our nation, the ideals that reflect America at our best. That is a fight I will never give up. I will never give up the fight for a future where Americans can pursue their dreams, ambitions, and aspirations, where the women of America have the freedom to make decisions about their own body and not have their government telling them what to do. We will never give up the fight to protect our schools and our streets from gun violence. And America, we will never give up the fight for our democracy, for the rule of law, for equal justice, and for the sacred idea that every one of us, no matter who we are or where we start out, has certain fundamental rights and freedoms that must be respected and upheld. And we will continue to wage this fight in the voting booth, in the courts, and in the public square. And we will also wage it in quieter ways, in how we live our lives, by treating one another with kindness and respect, by looking in the face of a stranger and seeing a neighbor, by always using our strength to lift people up, to fight for the dignity that all people deserve. The fight for our freedom will take hard work, but like I always say, we like hard work. Hard work is good work. Hard work can be joyful work. And the fight for our country is always worth it. It is always worth it. To the young people who are watching, it is, I love you. To the young people who are watching, it is okay to feel sad and disappointed, but please know it's going to be okay. On the campaign, I would often say, when we fight, we win. But here's the thing. Sometimes the fight takes a while. That doesn't mean we won't win. That doesn't mean we won't win. The important thing is don't ever give up. Don't ever give up. Don't ever stop trying to make the world a better place. You have power. You have power. And don't you ever listen when anyone tells you something is impossible because it has never been done before. You have the capacity to do extraordinary good in the world. And so to everyone who is watching, do not despair. This is not a time to throw up our hands. This is a time to roll up our sleeves. This is a time to organize, to mobilize, and to stay engaged for the sake of freedom and justice and the future that we all know we can build together. Look, many of you know I started out as a prosecutor, and throughout my career, I saw people at some of the worst times in their lives. People who had suffered great harm and great pain, and yet found within themselves the strength and the courage and the resolve to take the stand, to take a stand, to fight for justice, to fight for themselves, to fight for others. So let their courage be our inspiration. Let their determination be our charge. And I'll close with this. There's an adage an historian once called a law of history, true of every society across the ages. The adage is, only when it is dark enough can you see the stars. I know many people feel like we are entering a dark time, but for the benefit of us all, I hope that is not the case. But here's the thing, America, if it is, let us fill the sky with the light of a brilliant, brilliant billion of stars. The light of optimism, of faith, of truth, and service. HU. And may that work guide us, even in the face of setbacks, toward the extraordinary promise of the United States of America. I thank you all. May God bless you, and may God bless the United States of America. I thank you all.
All right. That wasn't bad. That wasn't bad. She did throw a little couple of shades at President Trump about peaceful transfer of power, and dark times are ahead. Sounds like she said, you know. So she did throw a little bit of shade at him. I think she didn't talk last night because she didn't feel confident to do so. Needed time to prepare a speech. I mean, that's what it's about, man. I mean, it's always. I remember when I think it was Romney. Romney didn't prepare a speech either. He just kind of talked from the hip when he lost to Barack because he thought he was in. You know, being religious and all, he thought God told him he was in, and he had to. I think, if I remember correctly, he had to wing it. So I think you got to say something when you know. Hillary didn't, if I remember correctly. Hillary didn't talk either. So I just think it's when you know it's over, man. Just call it, you know. And again, my I mean, it's not like they were in some auditorium or something. These people are outside for hours. Come on, you got to go out there and talk to these people. That's my opinion. So, how do we go from our democracy under a threat to everything's going to be all right? You got to be optimistic now, otherwise people be, you know, getting down in the dumps, rioting in the streets and all that, fear mongering. Yeah. She's setting the tone for the next round. I think she's done. She's done. They didn't want her last election cycle, right? She didn't make it that far. Did her campaign even last a couple of months last time? This time, she was the vice president, and they didn't have Democratic nominees or elections and stuff. She's done. They don't want her to be president. She might try again. You're right. She may try again, but She's done. Why would you believe and do your best to work within any confines in the administration? Well, I agree. You got to make it work. Yeah, you got to say something. People stand out. They're outside. She's done. If she comes back, we know there. Yeah, she's done. There will be no next round, no chance. Yeah, she just go on the circuit, just whatever. She's been the vice president. Just write a book or two, charge $10,000 for talks, and just just call it a career. I mean, be an advisor or something like that. I mean, they don't want her as president. Not for her necessarily, but for the supporters as a whole. Yeah. All right. So the blame game. So I want to do something talking a little bit about the blame game. Let me remove this. So there was a lot of talk about who didn't vote and all that kind of stuff. So I want to play a video, and then we'll go to the Washington Post, and we'll take a look at the analytics about who voted and who didn't vote and why they didn't vote and all that kind of stuff. So this is a video about the blame game. And then I'll drop the link in a few minutes. You guys can come up and talk and let me know your thoughts and opinions and all that. So.
Welcome back. The Fox News decision desk projecting Donald Trump has defeated Vice President Kamala Harris and will become the 47th president. Trump winning the key battleground states of North Carolina, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Georgia. He also could win the popular vote, something a Republican has not done in 20 years. Here's what President Trump had to say in his victory speech earlier this morning.
This was, I believe, the greatest political movement of all time. It's going to reach a new level of importance because we're going.
Chris Wilson and Democrat.
Sorry, I just wanted to get to the blame. I want to fast forward that and get to the blame stuff. So, the talking heads are going to chime in and make this a little bit faster here so we can get through it.
Consultant and former House Judiciary Committee Chief Counsel Julian Epstein. Gentlemen, great to see you both. Thank you so much for being here. Chris, talk to us about the results, how they compare to the polling. What are your observations?
Well, I think it's a pivotal moment, not just because Donald Trump reclaimed the White House, but also because, as you said, he's going to win the popular vote, something Republicans haven't done in 2 decades. And I think it's a clear signal that there is a new coalition of working class Americans that are made up of all races that are responding to Donald Trump's message of strong leadership, economic growth, and America First policies. There's been a lot of coverage so far of exit polling, but one thing I haven't seen covered yet is parents. Donald Trump won parents 50-47, and there was no gender gap amongst parents. He won moms 49-48, he won dads 52-48. And we can spend a lot of time dissecting where that went through and what states he may have won. But I think that's an important aspect is you look at the working class coalition and the parents that came together to put Donald Trump back in the White House. And that's really what made the difference for him last night.
Yeah, and that is what Mark Penn has been saying as well. We're going to talk with Mark Penn coming up in the show to get more on that. I think you're spot on there. Fox News senior White House correspondent Jackie Heinrich spoke with Lindy Lee, who serves on the DNC National Finance Committee and is a Harris surrogate, earlier this morning as the results are still coming in. She said Democrats were already playing the blame game. Watch this.
My phone is blowing up with recriminations and people just freaking out. This is not the outcome that we expected at all. We weren't expecting a blowout at all. We were hoping that we could hold on to this critical blue wall states, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, certainly, but all that is slipping away. The blame game has started. One of the things that are top of mind is the choice of Tim Walz as the vice presidential candidate. A lot of people are saying tonight that it should have been Josh Shapiro. Frankly, people have been saying that for months. I hate to say this, but I'm not sure how much Tim Walz contributed to the ticket.
Julian, your reaction?
Yo, that was sorry. That was harsh. I mean, the election's over. People are hurt. She's just like throwing people under the bus. Just like, listen, it's all Tim Walz's fault. We wanted Shapiro. This guy didn't contribute anything to the ticket. I thought that was cold. I thought that was cold. Let's listen to this other guy here.
It's projected that Democrats lost the presidency, the Senate flipped, and it looks like the GOP could keep control of the House.
Yo, it's a clean sweep. It's a clean sweep. The presidency, Congress, the House, the Senate, clean sweep. Bad.
This is looking more and more like a sweep. Your reaction?
Well, good morning, Maria, and thanks for having me on. Yes, I think we're in landslide territory right now. And, you and I have been talking about this for a long time now. I've been on record about this for the last 2 years. The Democrats needed to do two things to win this election. One is they needed a strong, competent candidate that could make the case and answer questions, including in unscripted environments, the way, say, a Bill Clinton could or a Barack Obama could. Kamala Harris was not that person. Joe Biden was not that person. The Democratic leadership knew about that, and they tried to paper that over, and today they pay the price for that.
That's cold too. This brother's like, listen, basically he said it nicely, but listen, she can't talk. She can't she can't just come off the top of her head, just off the top of her dome and answer questions. And you want to put her in a room with big time people. That's just not going to work. It's just not going to work. You need a president who can speak expert. I knew I was going to mess that up, but she got to be able to come off the top of her head, and she just can't do it. So.
The second thing the Democrats needed to do, as you and I have discussed many times, is they needed a sister soldier moment, not just on one issue, but just on about everything. The Democratic record and the Democratic policies are deeply unpopular, not just on 25% governments of the economy being government spending now, but immigration, crime, extremism on the Green New Deal, go on down the line. And, I agree with your guest here. I think what we are seeing now is a massive realignment, not just a political realignment, but a cultural realignment, because I think voters are rejecting not just the Democratic Party and their policies and their lawfare tactics, but this is also, a big signal to the news media that was, in my opinion, I say this as a Democrat, incredibly biased. They became activists rather than journalists during this campaign. It is a signal to Wall Street and Silicon Valley, who was behind the Democrats, and it's a signal to Hollywood. It's a real signal that the working class of this country is saying to the professional elites, it's time to get out. We don't like this sort of condescending, virtue signaling luxury beliefs that you guys impose on the rest of the country, and you never have to pay price for it. Immigration being the perfect example. So I think the Democrats really played this thing wrong for the exact reasons that you and I have been discussing now for about a year and a half.
Well, I mean, as well as just destructive policies, destructive on the American people. I mean, when you consider the failure of the wide open border, having national security impact, personal security impact, economic impact, Julian, do you think that they understand how destructive that was to have such weak vetting at the open border?
I think it was very destructive in terms of our national security, and it was also because of the economy. There's so much data out there that shows that immigration is wage theft. And when I talk about luxury beliefs, immigration is very good for the elites because they can build cheaper houses and have people clean those houses. But it robs middle-class people, not just of jobs, but of wages, because it pushes wages down. This is the kind of thing that I think a lot of middle-class voters really object to. Yeah. So, one of the big differences between the Democrats and the Republicans is the Democrats really believed that they could buy votes by expanding the welfare state. New entitlements on housing, new entitlements, forgive student loans, new entitlements for small businesses, just keep piling on the public debt. And working class voters don't like that. They find that very patronizing. What they want to see is expanding the economy and protecting jobs. And whether you agree with tariffs or not, working class voters really believe that Donald Trump was trying to protect jobs rather than to give government handouts. And that resonated in a way that's much, much more significant than I think Democrats recognize. And it pains me to say this as a Democrat, but it's true.
Yeah. And
so this guy's a Democrat who's talking. Let me just kind of interrupt here for a second here. So I think that the Democrats did a lot wrong, from selecting Harris, and it's already been said in the chat here. Somebody said they never voted in the first place. I think that was a mistake. I think they should. That was a terrible mistake. They never wanted her. Simone also says that it was only part Trump. It was only part wanting Trump, and the other part was just saying no to Harris. I don't think that either party really had anything that they ran on. It was really, she sat around for 40 days before she had an interview, didn't have anything ready to pull up on her policies, for her policies on her website. She didn't have, and she couldn't distance herself from the disastrous policies that they just mentioned. She didn't distance herself from Joe Biden enough. I personally, I know a lot of other people thought the same thing. It's gonna be 4 more years of this. That's not good. She was a problematic candidate. Even if it was somebody else, you still have a problematic candidate who's taking over for Joe Biden in those policies. In particular, my own thoughts, just me, the geopolitical situation we got going on with 3 potential hotspots for conflicts. Yes, the economy, as they just said, the open borders. Not enough investment in your own people. It's just bad. I mean, and she had to overcome that, and then put that together with her inability to, it's not so much going off script, but she just, to me, in my mind, when he talks about the corporate Democrats and all this, the big donor class, here's what I thought that Kamala was struggling with. She was struggling to answer questions because she had to appease the donors. So she was always in a conflict about how she's going to say something to the middle class as well as not piss off the donors. I think that was always her conflict. What was that question they were asking her, are you better off today than you were when you were 3 years ago, right? That particular question. She always went to, listen, I grew up in a family and there was a lady down the street who was who cleaned houses or whatever. She was a second mom, and she, small business owners, all this rehearsed story that didn't really answer the question about whether we were better off 3 years ago. That was her issue. How does she not throw Biden under the bus, her own administration under the bus? How does she not piss off the donors and yet say something to the middle class? That was the best she could come up with, some prepared speech. I think that was a huge problem that she couldn't overcome. She just couldn't overcome that. Let me finish this off. There's not much more to this.
And Chris, I think people came out and basically said, I want the opportunities. I'm not interested in a handout of up to $20,000 if I'm a black male. I'd rather have an opportunity to make money. And
that's incorrect too. $50,000 loans were going to be given out, and 20,000 of that would be forgiven, under certain circumstances. So you're not just going to give black men $20,000. But this is Fox News. What else do you expect from them? And y'all hit the like button too. Hit the like button.
Climb that ladder myself. Your reaction?
Yeah, it's I got to say, it doesn't happen very often. I agree with everything that Julian, as a Democrat consultant, had to say. It's remarkable how condescending the Democratic campaign was to working class voters and offering handouts in exchange for votes. And what's really remarkable about that, Maria, from a political strategy standpoint, is in the end, it looks like Trump will win first-time voters pretty strongly. And I give a lot of credit to the campaign for that. They turned them out. But it's not just white first-time voters. It's African-American first-time voters and Hispanic first-time voters. And they're going to win counties in South Texas that have never been won before by a Republican.
Really incredible. A great conversation, gentlemen. We so appreciate you.
All right, so that's that. So we're going to continue on to blame game. We're going to take a look at the numbers as released by the exit polls released by the Washington Post. Let's see, get to some of it's terrible to blame Tim Walz. Yeah, I agree. A lot of the things, there was a lot of things that were overcome. Hispanic men had a 30% swing from Biden. That's big because, there's this another idea that the Democratic Party is just too woke. Call it what you want, say what you will, but I think a lot, in particular, Hispanic men are very traditional, and they don't want this, LGBT rainbow stuff. They're not with it. This whole baby deletion stuff. People aren't with that. People aren't with that. I think they need a whole new rebranding of that. Even Kamala in her concession speech said that. I don't understand why this is something for the president of the United States to be discussing. That's something for your state. It's been kicked back down to the state. Just let them just deal with it. In Florida, it got over. They voted no on it. That's the way that it is. I'm not saying I'm for or against it or whatever, but it's too high for the president of the United States to be running on. That's just crazy to me. That's just crazy. Yeah, Trump goes off the script all the time. Definitely. Harris should never. Well, that's I definitely agree with that. She never should have been VP. Never. But Biden wanted a woman of color, in particular a black woman. That's why there were so many other people to choose from. They should have chosen somebody else, but they wanted her because I don't even know why they chose her. Bad pick. I don't know. They should never went hard on RFK Jr. There was something else. I don't know if I'll play it tonight, but they also said that the Democrats were focusing on the wrong thing. They were going after Jill Stein. You got to not paying attention. They're not paying attention. And somebody else in here wrote something about men. I want to put that up here too. But we're going to talk about the men. Something about the men in here that was on here. Let's see. Something about the men. I think that was you, E-Rod, to put something about the men. Oh, here it is. Yeah. Dems lost because they had left men out. So we're going to take a look at this. We're going to take a look at the numbers here. Let me remove this from the screen. Present. Take a look at the exit polls from the Washington Post. All right, so this is the updated 1 minute ago. Still doing a count. Is this correct? 295? Is that what the final count is? No, 295 to 226. I guess that's the final count. So this was updated 1 minute ago. Exit polls from the 2024 presidential election. We're still talking about the blame game here, right? Who we voting for? How men and women voted? The men, 42% voted for Harris. 55% voted for Trump. Women, 53, 45. The 45% of the ladies voted for Trump. So there's no third parties totals up here. Voters, different age groups. Take a look at that. Pretty even across the board here. Younger voters obviously usually do go for the Democratic and all that. So different racial and ethnic groups. So you can't blame black people, right? 85% voted for the Democrats. So we escaped the blame game here. We escaped that. White 41, 57. Latino, somebody brought that up already. Latinos 52%, 46% for Trump. Asian, mostly Democrats. Different educational levels. College graduates voted for Harris. Some voted for Trump. No college degree voted for Trump. I think that's pretty big. By gender, 55. We talked about that already. Race and ethnicity, 85% voted of African Americans voted for Harris. That's a pretty big. It's always us holding them strong, So let's see, broken down by age, party self-identification. The Republicans did both Democrats and they just kind of follow the party line, but the independents was not that big. More of them went with Harris. So let's see, education by race, white voters by education and gender. They break all this down, right? Gender by race, right? So there's a big thing about who the black men are voting for. Remember, President Obama went to talk to the black men and all that. So when we take a look at black men, 77% voted for Harris. 21% voted for Trump. It's been growing every election cycle. It's been growing. This gap in here, it looks like it says 2%. Voted for third party, Joe Stein or who else, Cornel West or whoever else was running there. So black women, 91%, 7% voted for Trump. So, people always want to try to take a look at that. But when you take a look at Latino men, 55% of Latino men voted for Trump. Latino women, 60% voted for Harris, and all others, 48%. All others was a split, right? Asian, Pacific Islanders, Middle Eastern. I would say whatever that the proper term is for them, right? Pretty much a split. So what I'm saying is, don't blame black men. Don't blame black men. So anyway, so that's that. You can go over to Washington Post and get all that. So and read through all that. But I just want to kind of go through that. So yeah, somebody else brought up the Latino men. Latino men showed out for Trump. Latino men showed out for Trump. So you call it what you want. And this is after that whole debacle with the Puerto Rico being a garbage island or whatever that comedian said, which was obviously trash, but they still showed out for him. So, and I don't know if this article says it, but the amount of people, I'm more interested in the amount of people who stayed home, who chose not to vote because they didn't think there was anyone worth voting for. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again: when we take a look back, when historians take a look back at this, at what happened in this election, and say these are the two best candidates to run for the president of the United States, 335 million or so people in the United States, with 170 or so, 160 so adult age people who can vote, and these are the two best people you got running. What happened? That's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. So let's see. Nothing much about the economy. Facts. I am not a black man, but I felt some sort of way about this Harris proposal. Yeah, listen, it was bad. It was bad. It was bad. Harris has also proposed legalizing marijuana nationally for recreational use, ensuring black entrepreneurs have access to growing. Well, listen, I'm approving of that. Because I think that in the state that I live in, they try to do all this. Oh, we're going to legalize marijuana, but then you need to literally like $300,000 to buy a permit. Who has $300,000 to buy a permit? So you still haven't addressed the situation, and until you let people out who were incarcerated, erase their records, and then give them a fair shot, that's really what needs to be done. But this other stuff, smoke and mirrors. $300,000 to get and it was a permit in the state that I live in, permit or a license, and it was a lottery. It's a joke. It's a joke. My theory is Biden didn't want it to appear weak. He couldn't choose a younger man or a strong woman as VP. She was best to prop Biden up. I think that other people are really pulling the strings. This is the corporate America, corporate talk. I don't think that these people, I think it's the donors, it's these millionaires and billionaires who are pulling the strings. There's a famous quote. I listen to a lot of alternative people. There's a guy, he's a professor at a university. His name is Jeffrey Sachs. He tells a story about Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin was at some talk somewhere, and he says that he's been through 3 presidents. Putin is saying this. I've been through 3 U.S. presidents. They all come in with good ideas, and then sooner or later, guys with dark suits and blue ties come in and tell them how the world really works. That's what I think happened. That's what I think. That's exactly what I think happened. I think if Biden wasn't capable to run a campaign, ban a trail, how can he run the government? So there, other people are pulling the strings. Other people are telling you what to do. We're your boss. We're your donors. We're your bosses. Here's how we're going to work the economy. Here's how here's where we're going to deploy our forces. Here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to work this. Here's how we're going to drill for oil about here. That's what I think is going on. I think it's just a matter of a figurehead. And I think that Trump is probably strong enough to say, particularly the second time around, they say, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm going to be my own person. So I think that masculinity, manhood, might do a little bit differently. That's just my opinion. This is my opinion. Let's see. I looked at Kamala on Oprah Forum. I was totally disappointed on how she addressed the victims. I didn't see that. I didn't see that forum. I didn't see that. We had Arizona, Nevada left. Black people need to start making Democrats work. Absolutely. Every black woman should be offended by Harris rallies. Listen, that was more trash. I mean, and the problem is High Vibe, is that I didn't turn enough people off. That's the problem. All the stuff that I've addressed, these political people who are vastly more in the know than I am, the thing that you just mentioned, Beyonce was, fairly decent, but these other rappers and stuff, You can't just keep entertaining us. You gotta do something differently, and that's and as I showed you the numbers, it still didn't turn off enough people. That's why I'm interested to see who didn't vote at all. How many people within the electorate, or not? Yeah, with how many potential voters chose not to vote? That's the real question. That's when we really know something. Yeah, that's the problem. Increasingly, men are voting more Republican. Well, increasingly, black men, right? It seems as though the white and Latino men are still are probably Latinos are probably going that way even more, but they've always been conservative. They've always been about quote unquote traditional values. Most of them very strong Catholics. They're not trying to hear this rainbow stuff. They're not trying to hear that, this woke stuff. They're not trying to hear that. They're not trying to hear it. And black men are quote unquote late to the party because we're so wrapped up. A lot of times I think we've just been so wrapped up. I think that if the Republican Party really would purge itself of the racism, and they've done a much better job. Don't get me wrong, they've done a much better job. But if they really crack down on that racist talk, you would have a lot more black men in that party. Have a lot more black men in that party. So how do we check their vote? Yeah, you should be checking donors, right? There's ways to do it. I guess Google it as far as who's donating, who's supporting their donor, who's donating to whose campaign and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. You got to check that. You got to check who they're voting, what votes if they're running for representatives or there's time in the Senate. You got to look for who sponsored their campaigns, which way they voted, things like that. You got to check that. Listen, I'm no fan of Trump either. Don't ever get it wrong. I'm not Trump. I'm not stumping for Trump. I'm concerned about what he's going to do. I don't know all the ins and outs. I know he's worried. He's doing stuff for the economy, and there's been some talks about increasing tariffs and other things he wants to do. I'm no economist and all that, but I'm concerned. But I tell you what, if you're in stocks, if you have stocks, and I think my crypto's probably I've heard crypto's on his way up. He makes you some money in the stock market. There's no doubt about that. So he makes some money. You got a 401k or something like that. You watch that under him. It'll be booming. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. He's all about that. So he might not be able to talk and not stay on topic and on script and all that, but he'll make you some money in the stock market. But I prefer what he does for the economy. Exactly. As a country as a whole, as a person, I can't really stand him, but I don't have to be his homie. Listen, a lot of people are held their nose, and voted for this man. That's what they did because they're looking at the economy, right? They want wage. I don't know if he's going to do much for the wages going up. I don't know. I don't know if he's going to do what. I don't know what you can really do about that, particularly if he starts instituting tariffs from when people send their goods over here to sell. I don't know if he can do anything about that. So, yeah, I'm telling you. Listen, I'm telling you. You watch that. He's 3 months and he's not even president yet. Watch that. Listen, you be making a lot of good money. Yes, sir. My portfolio went up like crazy. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. He's gonna make us some money. He's gonna make you some money. So if you're not in that, get yourself a Robinhood account, Acorn account, put some money away. Yeah. Okay. Let me see here. One more video I want to show here. All right, this is another video. This one's pretty good. I never heard of this station, but I thought their analysis was pretty good. So we'll present these guys, and then after this, I'll drop the link if anybody wants to come up, or I can show a couple more videos. So, what is this one? Why did Kamala Harris? All right.
Give you a look at the Electoral College vote. And again, the magic number, 270 for victory. Trump has clinched the win and is leading Harris by a count of 277 to 224. And here's how he did it: by outperforming Harris in every major swing state, Trump winning the battleground states of Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, North Carolina, and Georgia. He's also leading Harris in Michigan, Nevada, and Arizona. And here's a look at the balance of power in the U.S. Congress. Republicans have won control of the Senate with 52 seats. The fight for control of the House of Representatives continues, with Republicans hoping to defend their razor-thin majority. Democrats would need to flip 4 seats to win control of the chamber. With me now in the studio is DW's U.S. election analyst, Amyan Isif. Amyan, once again, the polls underestimated Trump, and he's won a clear victory. How did he pull it off?
Well, going into this election, 2/3 of Americans said they thought that the country was seriously on the wrong track. So it seems like the easiest takeaway from this is that Trump sold himself as the better man to go in there and to change things for Americans, whether that was for economic reasons, for security reasons, for things like this. The truth is that Kamala Harris was not able to sell herself as the candidate of change. That's my takeaway anyway. And what we're seeing on the ground with exit polls, looking at how voters voted, it blew pollsters' expectations out of the water. What we saw, to say the least, it was expected to be a close result, and pollsters, a lot of them did give Trump the victory, but what we didn't expect is Latino voters going for Trump. Kamala Harris got about 53% of the Latino vote, which is the worst result for Democrats in my lifetime. She actually lost the Latino vote among Latino men. Trump had a gain there. What we saw is that women didn't go for Kamala Harris how we expected. They actually voted in larger numbers for Trump than they did for Biden. Biden had a 15-point lead in women over Trump when he ran against him in 2020. And what we saw is Kamala Harris only had a 10-point lead there, and she was expected to do a lot better than that. So really, he exceeded expectations in basically every category that you want to look at.
There'll certainly be more to say about this in the coming days, weeks, and certainly in the history books. But right now, in the early hours, how are Democrats processing this defeat?
Kamala Harris and her campaign haven't made a statement yet. They're saying we still need to wait for the Electoral College tally to be finished. We still have some states where the vote has not been tallied yet, but she's expected to give a speech today. So we don't really know what her campaign is saying. But behind the scenes, there's soul searching going on for the Democratic Party. A lot of Democrats say the party needs to find a new identity. For the past 2 elections, and polls can actually show this by asking voters why they're voting. For the past 2 elections, Democrats have been voting against Trump, but not for Biden or Harris, so not for the candidate the Democrats have put forward. Harris, if you remember, was an unpopular candidate when she tried to clinch the Democratic nomination. She was selected as Biden's running mate and then became the vice president, but she never actually won any popularity contest to run for president. And I think Democrats have to contend with the fact that she just wasn't the popular candidate to get the job done. So a lot of people are saying, does she need to move to the left? Does she need to move to the right to get Trump's voters? So that's a conversation that's going on right now.
Let's talk about Trump's victory speech for a moment. What is he promising for the next 4 years?
Well, first of all, his victory speech was, he was basking in the glory of his return to power. A lot of the speech was about him and his movement, how he has a mandate now for the next 4 years at least. We don't really know what he's planning. But what he said was that he repeated that he's going to make the border secure. He's going to impose tariffs, especially on China, to bring industry back to the United States. This is, of course, worrying allies of the United States. Tariffs are not a great thing for free trade. But what really came out of it for me was the sense that he is the head of a movement in the U.S. And if you're on the ground there, you can see that there's a lot of energy behind his campaign. People really see it as a movement, and he's capturing that energy.
And there was so much energy when Kamala Harris first got into this thing. It just shows you how the campaign is a long slog, no matter how short it might be. That's DW's Amyan Isif. Many, many thanks as always.
We're tired.
All right, that's a little bit more of an analysis there about what's going on here. Let me drop the link, and everybody wants to come up. So the link is in the chat. I can't even freaking do that. Switch accounts here. I voted for Obama in 2008, but in 2012 I didn't. He opened up the Rainbow Coalition, same-sex marriage, for approval. From there, the Dems have been on a mission finding a new voting base among them. I think the Dems have always been. That's a good point, man. I think the Dems have constantly been on a soul searching, not to do anything, but to look for new pastures to sow their seed in, right? They're not trying to really do anything. I mean, it's been business as usual. They've forgotten about the working class. They forgot about the middle class. They're giving a bunch of butter biscuits to poor people and from the immigrants, and they haven't done anything. And so that's an issue, man. That's an issue. And so they're not doing anything. That's really, really problematic. Really, really problematic. So let's see. So this one is two educated ladies. Actually, I like one of them. I read one of her books about it's a book called White Rage. I read her book. This is on Democracy Now. So this is the last one. You guys can come up if you like, and if not, we'll call it for the night. Been on for an hour. But this will be the last video that I show. And if anybody wants to come up and talk about it, we can. But this is them more what I'm going to call sour grapes here. It's just sour grapes.
Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, War, Peace, and the Presidency. I'm Amy Goodman in New York, joined by Democracy Now!'s Juan Gonzalez in Chicago. Hi, Juan.
Hi, Amy, and welcome to all of our listeners and viewers across the country and around the world.
Well, Donald Trump is headed back to the White House 4 years after attempting a coup to stay in power. In a resounding victory over Vice President Kamala Harris, Trump is projected to have secured at least 277 electoral votes, surpassing the 270 needed to win the presidency. It appears he may also...
I want to pause this because the election, the people spoke, but the Black community needs to stop falling for identity politics and demand more. And this is why I'm playing this particular thing, because this is why I'm calling this sour grapes, because these are two educated Black ladies. One teaches at Emory University, the other one teaches at Georgetown, and they're not calling for Black people to ask for more. These two ladies, as you're going to hear, are going to blame it on white rage and white people and this and that. You haven't given anybody anything else. And if Latinos are not voting for Kamala, then there's a draw issue here. And our faithfulness, our unwillingness to demand something, and just going along and getting rappers at our stuff, they don't take us seriously. That's the issue. So, and unfortunately, this is what I'm calling the sour grapes. These particular ladies, well, I read one of their books. I got to disagree with her analysis here as what happened, but you guys can listen.
To win the popular vote, which he lost twice before. Republicans have also regained control of the Senate, but the House is still up for grabs. The presidential race was called for Trump after he won the critical swing states of Wisconsin, Georgia, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania. Trump's also in the lead in Michigan, Nevada, and Arizona as we broadcast. Trump's the first convicted felon, and at 78, the oldest candidate ever elected president. He appears on pace to win the popular vote for the first time after receiving fewer votes than Hillary Clinton in 2016 and Joe Biden in 2020. We begin with two guests. Michelle Goodwin is professor of constitutional law and global health policy at Georgetown University and founding director of the Center for Biotechnology and Global Health Policy, author of Policing the Womb, Invisible Women, and the Criminalization of Motherhood. And in Atlanta, Georgia, we're joined by Carol Anderson, professor of African American Studies at Emory University, author of many books, including One Person, No Vote, How Voter Suppression is Destroying Our Democracy. Her other books include The Second, Race and Guns in a Fatally Unequal America, and White Rage, The Unspoken Truth of Our Racial Divide. We welcome you back both to Democracy Now! After our 4-hour special last night. Professor Anderson, let's begin with you. If you can respond to Trump's victory.
The Confederacy won. When you begin to really think about what he advocated, the kind of racism, the kind of xenophobia, the kind of hatred, all wrapped in a sense of honor and gallantry, and how that resonated with such a large, wide swath of the American public, that begins to tell you that you're seeing the backlash to what they call the great, you're seeing the backlash to what they fear was the great replacement. And so this feels like the kind of last stand of white supremacy. And And it's going to put so many of us in jeopardy. And it's also part of the drug of American exceptionalism, where those who voted for him believe that they're going to be safe from the policies that he's going to rain down. And so that becomes part of the amnesia of not seeing how he handled COVID, not remembering how he handled COVID, of not remembering his tariff wars that basically almost bankrupted farmers in Iowa, and the kind of chaos that he brings, the kind of divisiveness that he brings. It's like living in a reality show and believing that it's not reality. This is a dark day for America. I think of Thomas Jefferson when he said, "I tremble for my country because God is just," because that's what we're looking at. I'm trembling for our country right now.
And Professor Anderson, the vote that Trump got, right now it's at 71 million, will probably go up 1 or 2 million more as other states are counted in and absentee ballots, but it's still roughly about the vote that he got certainly last time. But the big drop appears to be in the vote for Kamala Harris. She's at the national vote is 66 million now, significantly below the 81 million that Joe Biden got. Why do you think there's been such a disparity in her vote totals this time around?
I think part of what we're looking at, because she was explicit about policies, and so the language that she just needs to explain her policies is hokum. We're looking at the misogyny and the racism and the fear of what it meant to have a Black Asian woman who's married to a Jewish man sitting in the White House, that this was not the kind of vision of America that large swath that voted for Trump believe is America. It is the fear of what a multicultural, multiracial, multilingual, diverse America could mean. It means, and so you're seeing the backlash to her very being. It's a sad day for America. It's a sad day because there was a really explicit about the horrors of Project 2025 and what that meant for Social Security, what that meant for Medicare, what that meant for education, what that meant for equity. All of that could not override the depth of the misogyny, the depth of the racism that fuels the MAGA movement, that fuels Trump.
Yeah, I'd like to bring Professor Michelle Goodwin into the conversation from Georgetown University. Professor, your reaction to the results?
We have to understand this as a Project 2024. So the response, which I think was so eloquently put just now, is an amalgamation of a number of things. If we look at what the election results were based on race, it paints a picture in the United States. It paints a picture with regard to how people think about electing a woman, how people think about electing a woman who is Black and of Asian descent. It paints a picture policy-wide about what Americans are willing to embrace. And in that way, it's a Project 2024, it's a Project 1619 in terms of what Americans are willing to accept. To the extent that we know that Donald Trump is willing to fulfill on what it is that he says. He said that he wanted to criminally punish women. He said in 2016, 2015, he said that he wanted to overturn Roe v. Wade and Planned Parenthood v. Casey. After that occurred, he took full credit for that. There were a number of things that he had hoped to dismantle. This was a president who, right after coming into office, had a Muslim ban, was responsible for kids at the border being placed in cages, being fed frozen burritos. This was an administration that had its lawyers fighting to deny those children soap and toothpaste, arguing before federal judges that those children who were locked in cages in federal custody did not deserve soap, did not deserve toothpaste. This was a president who failed on COVID, who made sure that he had medications for himself, vaccine, and then also sent to others, including what has been alleged to Russia and to Putin, so that there would be access to the best of what we had for COVID at that time. But for Americans, did not do a good job at all in terms of collaboration, cooperation, and leading with regard to COVID, and instead had suggested that perhaps injections of bleach and other things might be the way to respond to COVID. And one could really go down the list in terms of what that presidency represented, and Americans overwhelmingly voted for that. But is that something that is new? I think that one of our challenges in our country is to really understand the arc of who we've been and the arc of who we are. We tend to think that we actually had our own truth and reconciliation such that we have confronted what have been the thorny, horrific parts of our past. And we haven't. We've done the work of South Africa, New Zealand, Australia, Germany, right? We've not looked and said, how can we tolerate systems where women were denied citizenship? How could we tolerate women being denied the right to vote? How could we tolerate women being denied the opportunity to become lawyers? And I'm talking about Supreme Court cases. How could we tolerate women being denied from serving on juries? How could we tolerate women being denied the opportunity to have bank accounts in their own names, that have their own checking accounts in their own names? And that's a modern iteration. And then we can unpack what this means in terms of Jim Crow and slavery. How could we be a nation that tolerated children standing on auction blocks and being auctioned off? A bid pond, not for a horrific day where we wake up and say, my goodness, what was that all about? Bidding on children in shackles and chains. No, but not practice that lasted a day, a week, a year. A year alone might have been waking up and saying, how in the world could we have tolerated that? But to see that flow into centuries and then to create patterns of justification and narratives for that then flowed into Jim Crow, a time in the United States that was marked very narrowly by what happened to Rosa Parks, but more fulsomely, the denial of people being able to walk in the park, swim in pools, go into motels, stay at hotels, live where they wanted to based on their race. And a practice that lasted for generations upon generations that then required federal intervention. So we have to ask ourselves, how could we have tolerated all of that? And in part, the answer is what we see in the election yesterday, is that we're willing to tolerate more of that. And then we have to ask ourselves, why? What is behind that?
Professor Goodwin, you're a professor of global health. You mentioned.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't see all that. I just don't see it. She's speaking from a very emotional place. Erod put that up about the first professor, Carol Anderson. She's speaking truth. Thank you for that, Brenda. Listen, I think that the Trump presidency was filled with problems, but when you take a look at what the last, you know what it all comes down to a lot of times is a pocketbook. How much the cost of eggs is, you know, and they just didn't like the way the Biden administration was going. And they said, you know, we can go back to a prosperous time of, you know, taking care of the migrant situations and all this, albeit everything that the Miss Goodwin, Professor Goodwin pointed out, or we can go back to this. And a lot of people said we're going to go back to Trump for whatever reason. For whatever reason. I think more people will go independent. Most voted Dems because they hate Trump. He didn't say anything about policies either. Just rotten word salad. Yeah. Listen, I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know what his policies are. We know he wants to take care of immigration. It's, you know, he wants to take care of immigration, and he's probably going to do something about taxes and economy and tariffs and all that kind of stuff. That's what he cares about. This other stuff, yeah, it wasn't, you know, and I want to point out the part about the Washington Post, because a lot of people are saying it's all, you know, they want the blame game, blame it on men, blame it on black men, blame it on Latino men, the blame game. I think Democrats got to look at themselves. They got to look at themselves. I could vote for Candace Owens over Harris. She may run one day. I wouldn't be surprised. And somebody else put in there about the work that she did, and where is that at? Candace Owens broke down the genealogy. She couldn't find her black ancestors on the father's side. It was interesting. She may have cosplayed blackness. Somebody else, I was listening to another podcast, and they played somebody else who also went there to Jamaica and went through the records and did find some actual black Jamaicans. So I don't know which one to believe. I did see Candace Owens breakdown of that, and I heard someone else say he could find them as well. He did find them. So where she couldn't, he did. I don't know who to believe. I don't know. Maybe a DNA test, right? Maybe swab her cheek and we'll get that. Let's see. More people personally. I would have voted for Tulsi Gabbard. I was actually surprised that Tulsi didn't go farther. I was really, really kind of shocked at that. And now she's done with the Democratic Party. She might be done politically because she's spoken up too much against the machine. Like I said before, the people who are really in charge. Here we go with identity politics and boxing folks. Bottom line, folks are financially struggling with inflation. Black, white, Latinos, and so on felt it. They did nothing in 4 years to fix it. That's well said, Barbara. That's what it comes down to. We need a strong party. I hope that one of the things that the other parties do now is really try to get some strength to them, some push to them. I absolutely agree. We need a third, maybe even a fourth, but certainly a third strong party. If every independent, there's more independents than there are of either party. There's like 40% of the electorate is like of voters is independent. Something like 30 and 29% or something like that are Republicans and Democrats. So there's more of them. So let me finish this off.
Trump's policies during COVID. And now he said he's talking about putting Robert Kennedy, the presidential candidate, in charge of women's health. But also Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said that he expected to be in charge of, what did he talk about? The CDC, the National Institutes of Health, a well-known vaccine denier. The significance of all of this, because it's beyond Trump. It's who will be in his government, from Elon Musk to RFK Jr.
That is a perfect question. And in 2015, 2016, I wrote an article about this, that while we could pay attention to, and it was right to, in terms of who would be elected president, what we needed to think about is who that individual would appoint to lead governmental agencies, because that's critically important. It relates to our clean air, the water that we drink, the education that children will be provided, and so much more. To place in context the Trump administration and COVID is to realize the following. There were more Americans that died in the first 3 months of COVID under his leadership than in 19 years of the Vietnam War, the Korean War, and the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. And I know your listeners and viewers might be stunned by that and wonder, does Professor Goodwin have that right? Well, I have testified before Congress with regard to that. I have looked at the numbers. I have run the numbers. I've written about this. Yes, more Americans died in our first 3 months of COVID under Donald Trump's leadership than all of the Americans that died in the Vietnam War and these other wars that I mentioned. And so the risks with regard to Americans' health happens to be high. And again, it's a Project 2024 that we're looping out into a Project 2025. And I want to be clear about that, because it's not hyperbole. It is to really understand that there has been a struggle in our country towards recognizing that all Americans deserve to be healthy, deserve to be able to have access to healthcare. We are not like our peer nations, and ones that the former president would not call our peer nations, where there is universal healthcare, where there are doctors that even will come to your home, or where you can be treated easily. I know that they talk about in those other countries that you'll wait a long time, all of that. Americans have to pay a high price for their health care. And fortunately, there's the Affordable Care Act. But note that under his administration, and there were attempts to still do away with the Affordable Care Act. So what will all of this mean in terms of the people that he will appoint? I would say, let's not just look at what this means in terms of health. We have to look at this in terms of the EPA. We have to look at this in terms of other agencies that serve the American public. And I think that people should be quite concerned. And one other thing that I will add to that, Amy, is that it is very likely that there will continue to be global epidemics, pandemics. COVID was the first of its kind in 100 years, was the second. We 100 years before had experienced something like that. But these may happen with greater frequency. People move far more today. We have more planes that are taking people from one part of the world to the other part of the world. And so it actually is really important in terms of thinking about global public health, that we pay attention to who is governing in these spaces in the United States and elsewhere.
And very quickly, Professor Goodwin, the historic ballot measures enshrining the right to an abortion passed in 7 of the 10 states that they were introduced, passed in Arizona, Colorado, Nevada, Montana, Maryland, New York, and Missouri, where voters backed a measure that will overturn one of the strictest abortion bans in the nation that prohibits abortion, even in cases of rape and incest. The significance of that, and yet, at the same time, Kamala Harris loses.
Well, again, if we parse this out, what we can see is that white women overwhelmingly voted for the former president, but yet also voted for the constitutional protection or statewide protections of abortion rights in their state. So they were able to parse these issues out, even though Donald Trump is, articulated wanting to criminally punish women and wanting to, and has appointed federal judges and justices on the lower courts as well as the Supreme Court.
Okay, they're talking. This is both yes on 3 in Missouri's abortion ban. I don't want to be mean here, but I'm sure everybody can understand exactly what I'm saying.
in order to make it very difficult to access reproductive health care, yet they could parse their vote. And it's not just them, it's men too. And I want to make one clarification too. In Florida, it's being articulated that women in Florida rejected the ballot initiative there. No, overwhelmingly, the majority of people in that state voted for that initiative, except it was required that there be at least 60%. And what we know is that it's been over 57, 58% that voted for the initiative. So it failed by a small percentage, but it's worth noting that that was a requirement that meant more than a majority had to vote in support of that initiative.
I want to thank you both for being with us. There's so much more to talk about. And we've also
All right, so that's it. That's my presentation there. So I wanted to get some of that. I feel a little bit of sour grapes. Listen, some of it was legitimate. You know, I am not a Trump fan, and he did do some crazy, disastrous things. I'm not exactly sure I agree with the good doctor about what's going to happen with you know, a pandemic. Hopefully that Trump, or you know, would learn his lesson, would take better actions going forward. But we can only hope. You know, so Glorious, where you been? What's up with that? Where you been? You're late. Yeah, a lot of people wish Michelle would run. Hillary Clinton slammed her. I think slammed who? Tulsi Gabbard or Harris? I'm not sure who you're talking about there. She may be 25%. I love women who support biblical values. Yeah, the DNC did some underhanded stuff. They went after Jill Stein and, you know, getting RFK, this, that, and the other. They did some underhanded stuff. In my opinion, Americans are in the middle. They are neither an extreme right or extreme left. We need to understand that most people are not extremists. Yeah, but I think that, you know, the two-party system is designed to keep you in a box and to keep the issues, you know, keep you voting on one or two issues, where we have a range of issues. You know, there's probably what 10, 12 issues, right? From the economy to the environment to healthcare to, you know, our geopolitical standings to taxes and tariffs. I mean, immigration. You know, there's probably, you know, there's a bunch of stuff I'm not even thinking about, right? There's other issues, and if you, I have friends of mine who are one one issue voters, just like listen, I'm not down with the LGBT. I'm going to vote this way. But what about what about the environment? What about healthcare? What about, I mean, and that's where they get you in a track, and that's why they don't want a third party. For one thing, I can't stand this play on words with reproductive freedom. Come on now, say what it is. Yeah, but I do think that there needs to be a rebranding of it, because when you're thinking about, and you know, this is why I don't think it belongs up on that level. It should be on the state level. Now, I didn't know that about. I got to be honest. I didn't know that about the Florida situation. About 60%. It should have been 51%. You know, I mean, you know, I'm sure that they probably set it that high for a reason, knowing that they wouldn't get there. But you know, but that's unfortunate. And so listen, I don't have a problem. And is it? I don't know enough about it. To me, it just kind of in the back of my mind. But if I'm thinking about reproductive freedom, it's my assumption, and what I remember hearing, correct me if I'm wrong, that they're also talking about you know, just female access to healthcare, essentially, right? Getting pap smears and other things like that. I could be wrong about that, but if it's simple, and you know, this idea about, you know, heartbeat bills and, you know, late term abortions and all this kind of deflecting type of nonsense is silly to me. And not that it's silly in and of itself. Thank you. Not that it's silly, but it's like it doesn't belong on that level. It belongs on the state level, and they should continue. All states should continue to fight for it on that level. I think the president of the United States should make sure that we have good borders, that we have a good defense, and watch our taxes and tariffs, and make sure if there's a natural disaster, some hurt, that's what he should be doing. He shouldn't be regulating people's bodies. I just don't understand that. I don't understand that. Yeah. We need multiple parties, two-party systems are guardrails to keep it. Yeah, absolutely. Guardrails to keep us in line. No. Pap smears and checkups and birth control is not on the line. Okay. It's all about abortion. Okay. It's not. It doesn't belong. It does. President of the United States. I think that's too high for the President of the United States. I think it's too high for. It's too high for probably state senators too. Like let the representatives in your state legislatures and all that work on that kind of stuff. So that's my opinion. Anyway, so that's my presentation. And if nobody wants to come up, I really appreciate you guys coming on. Hit the like button if you're going to watch this in the future. Hit the like button now, please. I would appreciate it. Thank you to all the new subs. We made it to 9,000. And I hope that you guys voted and did your civic duty. My daughter called me up. She's like, I didn't see your name. She, they check off your name. She's like, I didn't see your name. I'm like, I voted. Believe me, I voted. I voted because she's still. I probably shouldn't say this, but she could see my name where I should have been. So last Sunday, we talked about masculine ladies. Somebody asked me to do a show about feminine men, and so that is on tap for Sunday. So we're gonna tell these men to stop being feminine and what that looks like from a woman's perspective. I may have a guest. I invited somebody. If not, we're gonna go over some videos like we usually do, and that's it. Let's see, a couple more comments. See, for some women, it's women's body and their choice, and for others, it's murder. I get that, but it just doesn't belong in the president. You fight it out at the lower levels. Appreciate your time. All right, so on Sunday we're going to talk about. I planned, unless something crazy happens, something else takes my attention, but I plan to talk about feminine men, what that looks like from their perspective. Thank you to a couple people caught the live. Thank you so much. I recognize that Sundays is difficult for people because they're watching football and all that. I've been told about that before, but it just works out for me. I'd like to do a Wednesday live as well, but we'll see how that goes. All right, so thank you guys so much. Take care of yourselves. Much love and peace.